Do you prefer to talk or to text?
Well, to me, it really depends on the situation. Usually, I like in class, I would rather just text because, like, obviously, you can't like talk on the phone, and it would be like sort of a distraction. And for talking on the phone, if it's really important, I would rather just talk on the phone if it's a serious or important matter. How about
Mhm.
you?
I think I prefer to text also. And yeah, like you said, if you're in a place where you kind of have to be quiet,
Mm-hmm.
it's uh, it's important to have something that you can do. Like for example, text is something that you couldn't do before.
Mm-hmm.
You would get calls, and you kind of have to be forced to either pick them up or ignore the call, which in which case people might get offended.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I've always been about TPO, like time, place, and occasion,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like in a logistical context. It's always been important to me to adapt to a situation, to the environment. So if I'm talking to my friend, I will talk informally. If I'm talking to a boss, I might talk in a more formal manner. So, that's something you can't really do in texting. You can't really emphasize your words in certain areas as you would do when you're talking. Like, for example, if you wanted to emphasize a word in a conversation, in texting, you kind of would have to put it in all caps. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't really italicize that word. And sometimes people might take it differently. Like you might be just trying to emphasize that word,
Mm-hmm.
but some people might think that you're mad at them or something like that.
Yeah.
So texting can be kind of inconvenient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I agree with you with the italicizing, like or like on caps, like on texting. Like
Mhm.
some people just might think like you're yelling at them, and you're just like, why are you yelling at me? You know, and it's just a totally different context. So just like it really depends on who you're texting and like what you're texting about.
Mhm. Also, like another thing, like if you're excited, you put a lot of exclamation marks,
Yeah.
and I don't like doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I've always found it troublesome. Like I just don't like it. But when you're talking, you don't really have to like put all those exclamation marks. You don't have to point it out.
Mm-hmm.
People can tell when you're excited about something. And yeah, that's another downside to texting that I don't like. So although it can be very convenient at
Mm-hmm.
times, I think texting is also very inconvenient. Uh, and I noticed, or at least in the article, it said that a lot of people are texting more often. Like Americans ages 18 to 29 send and receive an average of nearly 88 text messages per day.
It's a lot.
That's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a whole conversation right there that you could have had with someone, either
Yeah.
over the phone or just like face to face, and you're sending messages. I think people should they should meet up more often if they really want to talk, not just text so much. Because if they're sending that many messages, they're getting too used to texting
Mm-hmm.
and not used enough, not familiar enough with having a conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
that limits their chances of bettering their skills in conversation.
Yeah, like if someone, I feel like if someone keeps like texting on the phone, they might get used to like the slang words, like "Hey, what's up?" Like like if I'm talking to you, I'll probably
Yes.
be like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, oh, I'm sorry. That's just really.
Yeah, and like for example, in interviews,
Mm-hmm.
if you're just texting all the time, you might freeze out
Yeah.
when they ask you questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really important that you talk more.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, there was a particular instance in my life. It was my second or to last day of high school, uh, and me and my friends were all sitting like in a round table, which is perfect for conversation because you can look one way, there's a person you can talk to, look at the other way, there's a person you can talk to, the person directly across from you. It's perfect. But we were just all sitting there, and a teacher comes up to us and he says, "Speak up, start a conversation." And so we all look up and we noticed that we were all on our phones and nobody was talking. So that's actually something that's very sad for everyone who spent so many years together to be just sitting there on the second to last day of school just texting or just on their social media. It's really sad because it's like we're basically saying that we don't matter to each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know if you see it like on Instagram, like they might have like this meme, like it was like a grandma and like the grandson. He was just on the phone, and the grandma's just like looking at the grandson, just like, "Can you like talk to me or like like have a conversation with me?" And I think it could happen to like other families too, like the kids or like the parents. They might be like they're just eating dinner, but then they might be on their phones and they're not really talking to each other. Just like,
yeah, that's another thing. Like, if you get so used to not talking to people, eventually when you have your own kids, you're not going to talk to them either.
Exactly.
Or you might actually try to talk to them, but you will have taught them that it's okay to not talk, so they won't want to talk to you. Those kind of things, they carry on in your life.